Hello, everybody. Good morning. Looks like we are live. Check one more thing here. Looks like I'm continuing to have trouble with Facebook. Don't exactly know why, but show must go on. So today I'm going to talk about hopefully maybe some inspirational type things. Sounds like the neighbor just revved up their Mustang. So maybe I'll just noodle a little bit and mute my mic until that stops. Okay, all right, everybody. So a few things that have come out this past week. We had sunny. So those are the changes. I was just kind of noodling around a little bit on there. Let me know if you have any questions on what I was doing. But yeah, perhaps I will talk a little bit about that. Then I just wanted to give my thoughts today too on maybe attitudes and perspectives on practice. And maybe offer some thoughts on students and different people, different stages of life and so on. So a lot of us, I'm in my late 40s now. So a lot of us who are maybe 40, 50, 60, 70, we have that perspective of time running out at some point. But here's a little inspiration for you to offer you. When you play a sport or something like that, and you're trying to play a sport at a really high level, you might have a really even much smaller window of time to really play that you know, so it might be um, into your mid 30s would be kind of a really pretty long stretch. I was watching this documentary on Netflix about Nolan Ryan last night, and he had a really super long career, and not implying that we all need to be, professional musicians or anything. A lot of us are just playing for fun and stuff. Or for our own enjoyment, I should say. Should always be fun, I guess, right? Um, but um, we do feel like, okay, yeah, time is running low, but we could stay pretty healthy with our fingers if we regularly warm up. We can continue to play at a high level, really, very pretty late in life. So one perspective I like to offer is that, try, in spite of that, ultimate fact about life where, we might all possibly live a long life into our 90s or up to 100 or so. But being in a hurry can be really detrimental to practice, right? The mind and the brain are going to process things at whatever rate that is, so you can certainly practice efficiently, um, and reach certain goals. But when it comes to playing, you have to really kind of, at least for me, and I think it would be universal, but I've got to take where I am at a given moment and work with that and evaluate and improve. So if I'm working on a sunny video, I'll work on little small passages, and I try to be super honest with what things sound like. I do a ton of scratch recordings, which is basically can serve a few purposes, but I'll do a scratch recording early on, and then I'll build a rhythm section around it, um, and then I'll do my final recording, when I'm feeling ready. But also the scratch recording can serve for you if you're just practicing and having fun at home. Record yourself playing along with iReal Pro, Band in the Box, your looper. Recording and evaluating, just being really honest and trying to evaluate and say, okay, this could be better, volume wise, tone wise, all those kind of elements. So I try to offer a little bit of inspiration on practice there, and I have some more thoughts that I'll talk about a little bit later. But let me know if you have any questions. I might have a cup of coffee. This is kind of a rude awakening today. I thought I had a whole other hour when I looked at the digital clock that's not connected to the internet, and then finding out I lost an hour here. All right, everybody. And one thing I'll mention too about this Nolan Ryan, it's so inspiring, to see someone you know work at playing at a really high level. Don't want to spoil it for you if you haven't already seen it, but his workout regimen leading up to a game is just really uh, impressive and inspiring, and that really appeals to me. Anything, could be sports or guitar or crocheting, I don't know, anything that you can kind of like try to take to a high level. Um, I find that really, really inspiring. So, also consider, when you watch people play on the internet or live, all the behind the scenes things that go into that. I get so many comments from students saying, "Oh, I went to pick up the guitar the other day and I was terrible." I was like, well, it's the same thing. Like, I warm up, so yeah, you got to warm up. You got to give yourself a chance. You got to say, like that evaluation thing. Um, play warm up a little bit first, and then start to evaluate. But you can also have just really less critical evaluations. Just where where are you as you're playing? You can evaluate and say, okay, where am I bumping up against my upper level, my current level right now, or my skill level, or my, I should say, limit, right? Because we always have an upper limit. No matter how good you get at guitar, you're always going to have an upper limit. And that upper limit is going to change from day to day, hour to hour. So sometimes you're just feeling it, it's flowing, you're focused, you're in the moment, and it's great. Other times you kind of have to dig deep. Fingers don't feel like they're cooperating, but you try to stay at a certain minimum level of output, when you're playing. All right, well, I'm gonna do a little more noodling around. Thanks, Jason L, for joining in. Good to see you, Jeffrey. And looks like it might be kind of a quiet day today. Maybe everybody else is sleeping in too. I'll do a little more noodling around. Mute my microphone again here. Okay, so a little what I'm doing there, and this is a little bit of something that you can certainly work at too, is to play some chord changes and improvise over those without any backing track at all, without any other um, musicians. And so you want to suggest what the chords are. You want to outline a little bit of the chord changes, and this can be a really great practice technique for us all to do, because you don't have anything to lean on, right? You don't really have a reference, so your only reference is sort of your own recollection of the harmony. So as you go through, you can recite chords to yourself. Just think, okay, A minor, G minor, C7, F, uh, B minor, E7, uh, and just kind of go through like that. And when I come across folks wanting to learn or wanting to get better, it seems like I always kind of get this question. Hey Chris, so great to see you. Welcome. They're kind of like questions like, should I do this thing or should I do this other thing? Or and I get that you can only do one thing at one given time. And some of the videos I come across on the internet are educational jazz educations, like well, you should do this thing and then don't do this other thing, and then so one question I got from a student, this was a ways back, jazz student, um, on the internet, and he was asking, should you think of is there like, what's the ultimate way, to think, like, should you think about the tonic, or should you think about the individual chords? And I get, from my perspective, the answer is really both. You need to be in both levels, and one is a zoomed in picture of the same picture, right, or the same map. uh, you know you're either zoomed out, right? You're just thinking broadly, you're thinking in the key, or you're thinking about where the tonic is, and that's where you can really kind of stretch out and play some of your pentatonics. So that's sort of that zoomed out item, or zoomed out perspective. And then you have the more zoomed in kind of perspective, which is, yeah, the individual chords. And then I see like controversial things like, okay, should you practice with a metronome? Should you not practice with a metronome? Should you practice with a backing track? Should you not practice with a backing track? Should you play with actual recordings? And you know, for me, what I say is, like, do everything. Do all of those things. Obviously at different times, but you say one song, Sunny. For me, when I'm working to internalize that tune, I'm listening to vocal recordings. I'm jamming along with it. I'm trying to get an idea. Oh, what do they play? What does the singer play on this, or sing on this note? What are they going after? How is this different from the original recording? Listen to instrumental versions. I'm just like fiddling things out on my guitar. Like, what are they going after on that melody? And then for the improvisation, when you transcribe, unless you really want to dig deep into a particular line or something, just try, oh, what are they going after on that beat of that chord? Or if you're having trouble with, let's say on Sunny, B flat 7, sharp 11, it's like, kind of listen to John Scofield and Pat Martino playing, like, what are they going after on that? Because the theory definitely helps, but the the ear and the theory together is just really so strong, so you can get an idea of how chord scales work, and just kind of hone in, like, what do they play on that chord, like, what does someone on Pat Martino's level, I hate to use the word level, but playing on that, on that, I can't think of any other word, but that level of ability, what does he do on that, So, so doing a little bit of that, playing a little bit with a metronome, but the thing about playing with a metronome and the playing with the backing tracks is that you can tend to lean on them. That's the fundamental issue, I think, that folks like to point out rightly, which is you just start to get good at playing with a metronome, right? We get good at the things that we do often. So, you're kind of leaning on the metronome for time. So then you got to practice without the metronome, or practice with the metronome on real slow setting, like beat one, and do like beat one of every measure, or every two measures, and see how close you get to landing it, because we've got to form our own sense of time and sense of all of that as well. So, all right, take a sip of coffee here. I was getting really good there for a while about waking up super early on Sundays, and I seem to have slacked here. And then this daylight savings adjustments really hit me hard here. So I did on my podcast earlier this week, did do a little just kind of broad discussion on some of the lines for Pat Martino's solo on Sunny, and that was really kind of cool to see some of the chromatic lines, as well as a lot of you might say pentatonics embedded with that. So let me offer you a few ideas on how you can take what you already know well, which us as guitarists really tend to know the pentatonics really well, and see how you can add tones to that, both diatonic and chromatic, to work through some changes. So let's say on Sunny we have the A minor pentatonic. Now you can pretty much jam all the way through that from there. So yeah, I'll get right back to this. I just want to take some comments here. Jeffrey says, enjoyed your all blues, Miles Davis. Glad to hear it. Wonder if I should update. I'm going to update some of those videos as well. And so I'm so glad you enjoyed that. So Chris says, I watch your Sunny and love it, Jim. Pentatonic makes it a bit easier. I'm glad to hear that, Chris. So yeah, the pentatonics. So let's say you're going through the pentatonics, right? One thing we found in that Pat Martino solo is he did include the F sharp, right? At times he included the F at times. I should probably go back before making all these crazy claims, but I know he did include all those. But let's talk a little bit about what can you put in between some of these pentatonic tones. All right, well, let's talk about the whole steps. The whole steps are really kind of a real easy one to work with because there's only one choice, right? So you can already get pretty chromatic by taking the pentatonic and putting notes in between. And we're probably pretty familiar with this one. The one that comes in between the fourth and the fifth. Right? So that one we're already probably pretty familiar with as guitarists. But, in between these two as well. So when you have a whole step on a pentatonic scale, there's really just one option, right? So here's something you could try to just really get that. So I'm just taking half steps in between these three. So that's pretty easy to do, possibly. And then you can take the other half steps between the whole steps that are maybe are not as obvious in this position. So if you go like, right, so the C to the D, there's also going to be a half step there. And also in this position between this. So let's hear how that sounds. So, right, right, right. So you can get into that. And then how you treat it with the beats, if we have 1 and 2, right, and 3, then that's coming on the strong beat. So that's going to have a different effect for us. So some things to consider there. So then you're already going to make it pretty chromatic, right? And then before I go on with some of the other things that we can do, I just want to mention as well that a lot of these different things that we're talking about are sometimes information that's embedded in other information, right? Like, for example, chords and arpeggios. I did a video a little ways back on arpeggios, and you're kind of noticing that arpeggios are inside of these scales. You're really, in a sense, being more selective about scales from a certain perspective. So if you're in the key of no sharps, no flats, and you're thinking, let's say pentatonic real well, right? You have that, which is A, C, D, E, G, A, and then we look at, okay, A minor 7. What is that like? Okay, A minor 7. Okay, so it's like 4 out of the 5 notes. So that's a good way to take what you already know and work on arpeggios, right? So, okay, if I remove one note from the pentatonic scale, I end up with A minor 7 arpeggio, right? So then it just kind of really bumps you over quicker. So if we try to learn all these things separate, then it's harder, I think. So taking pentatonics, absolutely nothing wrong with it, and take that and add some notes. So let's talk about some other notes here. We've got A minor 7. Let's say with A minor 7, what if we want to add some tones in between the minor thirds of the pentatonic, right? So we talked a little bit about the whole steps of the pentatonic. What about the minor thirds of the pentatonic? Well, here's one thing that you can really do that's super easy, kind of chromatic, and fun to do, and you really actually hear it a lot, which is between your minor thirds, take, and this is can be kind of conditioned on strong beats and weak beats. Take like 1 and 2 and 3, right? So let's say you're going from string 2 of fret 5 to string 2 fret 8. Take a little half step approach to this note, right? And let's say you're going back to this note. Take a little half step approach from above. So that you're just taking something like this, which we might play in A minor pentatonic, and you just added some flavor to it. Okay, so let's say 1, 2, 3, 4 becomes 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And what's really kind of cool about this is add some accents on those weak beats, and it's really sounding pretty good, right? So then you can play. So then you already have something. You're just basing it into something you already know, and you're just putting some half steps in there. So it's pretty cool. Encircling is another one where you can. So you're just taking maybe a half step above and a half step below. So you can do that all over here. And you don't necessarily have to do that on weak beats, but it's a good place to start. Okay, well, we're pretty far into it. I should probably mention some of the offerings that I have and some of the ways you can support all of this free content. One of the biggest ways you can do is just chat with me here. Much appreciated. Chris and Jeffrey and Jason L. So that's the number one thing, just attending and having a good time with me here. So do appreciate it. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe. Check out the merch store. Got a lot of books. My book on the minor blues has been doing really well. So if you haven't already, check that out. And maybe I should do some expansions on that as well. I've got Sound Slice going on my website member area. So I'm thinking I need to add those exercises on the minor pentatonic to Sound Slice and put that up on my website there. And pretty soon here, I'm going to start doing shout outs to members of the member area on YouTube. I saw another channel doing that, so that'll be coming up in the near future. So check that out. And I think I'm going to buy one of my own new mugs here soon. I've got one of my prototype mugs, but I want to get my updated mug, which looks a lot better. I think I'm going to get the black one like Chris has. So thank you, Chris, for all your support. Chris is, he's taken lessons. He's bought some mugs, and thank you, Jeffrey, for your support as well. Do appreciate it. Jeffrey comments and leaves comments on lots of videos, and that really helps the algorithm. So anyway, you help us grow here. Really do appreciate it. Kind of the next goal, I guess the next natural goal would be to get up to 25,000 subscribers. I think that would be really kind of cool. So I'm taking kind of the slow route. I'm not offering any gimmicks or, you know, anything like that. So we've got a question here on the vertical mobile. What is your most satisfying tune to play? You know, that's a great question. I have different tunes for different moods, you know, that I find, you know, kind of satisfying. I really love playing Recordame quite a lot on gigs and stuff. I just really like the flow of the changes and stuff. So that's really nice. And I like, you know, one tune that I'd really love to do on the channel that I find very satisfying is Lush Life. I believe that's Billy Strayhorn. And so I'd like to I like that tune a lot. It's got the really kind of cool intro. That would be sort of maybe a big project. Sunny's great because it's short and you can do a lot of different things on it. As far as you know, like pentatonics and things that we talked about as well. But yeah, you know, maybe I'll offer a little more on practicing and playing. You know, I think in a sense we always feel like we could be better, and I think that's just sort of human nature. Um, I had the really great honor to play with Jay Cummings, drummer. He was the last drummer of the Stan Kenton Orchestra. And you know, one time he said to me, you know, you arrived. You know, you're you know, that, I mean, that's what he said, which I meant, which to me kind of, I took it as, okay, you're okay. You know, don't worry about it. But you know, it's really, you know, music, you know, you gotta like kind of try. It's hard, you know, because you gotta like try to be in that moment and try to serve serve your purpose, you know, in the group and play to an audience. But you know, even to this very moment, I'm trying to get a little bit better. I think I've gotten better at holding the pick. If you look at some of my earlier videos on the YouTube channel, I think I hold the pick in a weaker sort of way, and you know, I've really committed myself in the last year to really holding the pick in a more standard, you know, textbook kind of way. And I've felt the benefits to that, you know, the last couple of gigs I've played, I feel like I'm cutting through the mix much better, and getting a louder, more present sound. So I'm still trying to. I felt like in the process of getting my right hand picking better, I feel like I lost a couple of things, and sometimes you might feel like that. You know, it's like, okay, I made a few gains here in some respects, and maybe I can't do some of the things that I was doing with the other technique. And so now I'm working to get those back in with what I'm doing, which doesn't feel as natural to me, but it's getting more and more natural. So you know, uh, I'm also kind of making those gains and just trying to work at it. So I'm in the same boat, guys. Um, Chris says people don't realize how important pick control and placement is. I come and go with that as well. Yeah, it's really important. It's probably one of the harder things to change. It's one of the harder things I think to learn. And I'm not sure exactly why. I suspect that it has to do with the dominant hand being the picking hand, and it just wants to do its own thing. It doesn't want to be restricted. It doesn't want to, do that. Over the years, and this has been many, many years, I've really worked at developing alternate picking, and I will say it will really help. It will pay off so much, to do that. But anyhow, um, you know, it's been hard. It's been really, really hard. But you really master your alternate picking, and then you've got your economy picking, um, and then you can when you go to play, and just have fun or play a gig or just have your own enjoyment. Just sometimes just do whatever and see if you observe and say, hey, is some of that kicking in now? Or maybe it's not. Some things are 6 months out, where progress can be really, really slow. Any tips on phrasing pentatonic scale? Yeah, pick attack, and doing your hammer-ons and slurring. So if you know the 5 fingerings of the pentatonic, then it's going to be a little easier to phrase the way you want to. So that's one thing that's really kind of interesting about the guitar, is that we could play a hammer-on in this position, right? So, but we could also slide into a new position. We could pick this note real hard, or we could pick this note real soft, right? So we have that option of doing that. But when in doing that, you want to be aware of now what's up here in this other fingering, right? So slides, hammer-ons, okay, pull-offs, right? Now, if you slide in the opposite direction, are you gonna? I'm on A minor pentatonic, by the way. So, are you gonna be able to know, what's back here, right? So, if you play, right? So being aware of your 5 fingerings, or at least even, like, this fingering versus this finger and this fingering. Sorry to use this, guys, but you'll hear the lot of the rock guys doing, just this. They'll be playing and then going back. Fingering below this, our typical A minor pentatonic, and a fingering above, So, so yeah, those are some options to consider. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for joining. Shout out to our regulars here, Jeffrey, Chris, and Jason L. And thanks to our newer folks joining and commenting, Larry, Leon, and ZAOVA. So thanks for joining us. Hope you join us again as well. All right, everybody, and take a look at the description below for consultations and other types of services. I'm here to help you out, gain from what I have learned over the years. All right, have a good one, everybody. See you all in the next one.